You're at a dinner party. Someone casually mentions they just maxed out their 401k for the 12th year in a row. Another person brings up the rental property they picked up last summer, very casually, like buying a rental property is the kind of thing you just do. A third chimes in about their brokerage account crossing some milestone you didn't even know existed as a category. Meanwhile, you're sitting there doing quiet mental math. You're trying to remember if you even have a 401k and whether the $8,000 sitting in it technically counts as retirement savings or just aggressively earmarked disappointment. You smile, you nod, you say something vague like, "That's great," while reaching for your wine glass with slightly more purpose than a person who felt financially secure would need. Later that night, you're lying in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation, wondering how everyone else figured out the money thing while you were apparently busy with other things. What things specifically you can't fully recall, but definitely things. The questions start spiraling. Should I have bought a house 5 years ago? Why didn't anyone explain investing to me in my 20s? Is it too late? Am I going to be working until I'm 75? Here's what nobody at that dinner party will admit. Half of them are lying. The guy talking about his rental property didn't mention it's been vacant for 3 months and bleeding him dry. The woman who maxed out her 401k for 12 years is carrying $40,000 in credit card debt she hasn't told her husband about. The third person inherited $200,000 from a grandparent and has already spent $40,000 of it on what he describes as lifestyle upgrades. The other half are drowning in the same anxiety you are. They've just gotten very good at performing confidence, which it turns out is a skill middle-class America has quietly perfected. But here's what I actually want to talk about today. The benchmarks you're measuring yourself against, the ones making you feel behind, making you feel like you missed the window. Most of them were designed for an economy that no longer exists. A 1985 economy where houses cost $89,000 and a single income could support a family of four. And yet, somehow, we're still using those benchmarks as the measuring stick for our lives. So today, I'm going to do something that might be uncomfortable and also genuinely useful. I'm going to show you the real financial benchmarks for 40, based on current data, not mythology. I'll show you where most people actually are versus where they're pretending to be. And then I'm going to give you the exact catch-up roadmap, because here's the part that most of this content leaves out. The people who start aggressively at 40 often end up in a stronger position than the people who started casually at 25 and coasted. There's a mathematical reason for this. It's called contribution intensity, and I'll get to it before we're done. Once you understand it, your 40s start to look less like a deadline you missed and more like the most powerful wealth-building decade of your life. Hey, I'm Alice from Money Blueprint, your no-fluff home for building real financial freedom from wherever you actually are. Let's get into it. First, the number that will either make you feel better or worse depending on where you are, possibly both simultaneously. The conventional wisdom benchmark for 40 is 3 times your annual salary saved for retirement. Earning $80,000 means you should have $240,000 saved. Sounds reasonable when you say it fast, sounds like a punchline when you look at the data. The Federal Reserve's most recent survey of consumer finances found that the median retirement savings for Americans aged 35 to 44 is approximately $45,000. The median, meaning half of all Americans in that age group have less than that. So if you're sitting there with $60,000 or $80,000 in retirement accounts, you're not behind the average, you're ahead of it, which is either reassuring or alarming depending on your definition of reassuring, because the average retirement position in America is, charitably speaking, not great. The benchmarks that make you feel like a failure were largely created by financial institutions that profit from your anxiety. They want you to feel behind, so you'll buy their products and pay their fees. That's not cynicism, it's their business model, and it's fine to know it exists. But here's the other side. Average in America means retiring with barely enough to survive. Average means working until 67 and hoping Social Security is still functional when you get there. The goal isn't to beat your neighbors, it's to build genuine financial security. Those are completely different objectives that require completely different strategies. So let's talk about real targets, the ones that are actually achievable and will actually move your life. By 40, a meaningful retirement savings target is 1.5 to 2 times your annual salary, not 3. If you're earning $70,000, you're aiming for $105,000 to $140,000. That sounds far more human scale than $240,000, and it's still enough to set you up well, because here's what that number does over the next 25 years. At 40, with $120,000 invested, even if you never contributed another dollar, that money grows to approximately $780,000 by 65 at an 8% average return. You wouldn't be wealthy, but you'd have something real, and that's before counting anything you continue to contribute through your peak earning years. Emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of essential expenses in a high-yield savings account accessible within 24 hours. For most households, that's $12,000 to $25,000. This is not your vacation fund. This is not the account you dip into when there's a sale. This is the financial equivalent of smoke detectors. You hope you never need it. You absolutely need to have it. Debt. By 40, all high-interest consumer debt should be gone. Credit cards at 20% interest should be paid off completely. Student loans either eliminated or on a clear trajectory. Personal loans finished. Your remaining debt should be a mortgage and, at most, a car payment at a reasonable rate. If you're still carrying revolving credit card balances at 40, this is a 5-alarm situation that has to be addressed before anything else, because high-interest debt compounds against you with the exact same mathematical force that investments compound for you. You cannot out-invest a 22% APR. I promise. The math has been checked. Income. By 40, your salary should reflect real career progression, at least 30% higher in inflation-adjusted terms than what you were earning at 30. Not because ambition is a virtue or corporate ladders are inherently meaningful, but because your income is the engine that powers everything else. Someone earning $50,000 and saving 20% saves $10,000 per year. Someone earning $100,000 saving the same percentage saves $20,000. Over 25 years, that difference, compounded, is the gap between retirement and working until you physically can't anymore. Now, here's the part that changes the entire conversation about catching up. The secret advantage of starting later, or starting seriously later, even if you've been half-heartedly investing for years, is what's called contribution intensity, and it's genuinely underappreciated. The person who starts at 25 contributing $200 a month has a long time horizon, but typically a limited amount to contribute. Student loans, lower income, the competing demands of early adulthood in an economy that has not been kind to people trying to establish themselves. The person who gets serious at 40 often has their highest income, their most stable expenses, and, if their kids are grown or nearly grown, the largest financial margin of their life opening up in front of them. They contribute not $200 a month, but $1,500 or $2,000 or more. They max out the 401k. They use catch-up contributions. They eliminate the passive financial bleed that the earlier version of themselves never got around to fixing. Here's what catch-up contributions actually look like in 2026. If you're 50 or older, you can contribute $32,500 per year to a 401k, the regular $24,500 limit plus an $8,000 catch-up provision. If you're between 60 and 63, there's a super catch-up provision that allows $11,250 in additional contributions, bringing the total to $35,750 per year. You can also contribute $7,500 to an IRA with a catch-up included. If your spouse works, you can double these. Someone who starts at 40 with zero saved, contributing $1,500 a month into a diversified portfolio at 8% returns, has approximately $720,000 by 65. Not a dynasty, not a beach house with a helicopter pad, but a genuinely comfortable retirement, especially combined with Social Security and any equity built through homeownership. Someone who starts at 40 contributing aggressively, maxing the 401k, using catch-up contributions from 50 onward, investing in a Roth IRA, can realistically accumulate $1.2 to $1.5 million by 65, depending on income and market conditions. That is not a small number. That is the number the 25-year-old starting casually with $200 a month may not reach either. But, and this is important, the math requires actually doing it, which means we have to talk about the psychological trap that stops more catch-up attempts than any mathematical challenge. Financial paralysis. You know you need to take action. You read the articles, you watch the videos, you bookmark the resources, and then you don't actually do the thing. Because the gap between where you are and where you feel you should be creates a specific kind of shame that generates avoidance rather than action. The avoidance makes the gap wider. The wider gap generates more shame. The shame generates more avoidance. This cycle continues until something external forces a break. The only way out is a single action taken in the next 48 hours. Not a plan, not a resolution, an action. If you have high-interest debt, open a balance transfer card with a 0% introductory period and move your balances. This stops the bleeding immediately and gives you a runway to pay down principal. If you have no savings, set up an automatic transfer of $200 per paycheck into a high-yield savings account. Automation removes the willpower variable. The money moves before your discretionary spending gets near it. If you have savings but aren't investing, log into your 401k portal and increase your contribution by 2%. Today, not after you do more research. Today. One action, 48 hours. The momentum from a single step is typically enough to sustain the rest of the journey. Motion creates motivation, not the other way around. Now let's talk about the career piece, because your career is the engine that powers all of this, and most financial content ignores it entirely, which is like spending an hour optimizing fuel efficiency while the engine is broken. By 40, you should have developed at least one specialized skill that commands premium compensation, not because specialization is an inherently noble pursuit, but because generalists compete with thousands of other generalists. A general marketing manager competes with everyone. A marketing manager who specializes in customer retention for SaaS companies competes with maybe a few dozen people. Specialization reduces competition and increases leverage in every salary conversation you'll ever have. You should also have a network that could help you find a new job within 30 days if you lost your current one. Not a theoretical network, 5 actual people who know your work and would advocate for you. Careers end abruptly. Industries contract. Managers change. Your network is the insurance policy that costs nothing but a few hours of maintenance every quarter. And you should have at least one other income stream, even a modest one, a small consulting arrangement, rental income, dividend payments, something that would continue if your primary paycheck stopped. Not because the side hustle mythology is real, most of it isn't, but because the difference between losing your job with zero other income versus losing your job with $1,500 a month from other sources is the difference between crisis and breathing room. Here's where we land. The benchmarks matter less than the trajectory you're on. Someone at 40 with $50,000 saved and a 30% savings rate is in a fundamentally stronger position than someone with $200,000 saved and a 5% savings rate. The first person overtakes the second within a decade. Velocity matters more than position at this stage. If you're ahead of where you expected to be, resist the urge to coast. The difference between comfortable retirement and genuine freedom is often 5 more years of intensity. 5 years, that's it. Those 5 years could buy you a decade of freedom on the back end. If you're behind, you're standing at what might genuinely be the most powerful wealth-building window of your life. Your income is near its peak. Your financial obligations are potentially becoming more manageable. The time horizon is still long enough for compounding to do real work. The person who gets serious at 40 ends up in a better position than the person who started carelessly at 25 and coasted through their 30s on autopilot. This is not motivational fluff, it's math. 10 years from now, you will either look back at this as the point where everything changed, or you'll be having the same quiet anxiety at the same kind of dinner party, doing the same mental math about the same $8,000. The benchmarks aren't the point. What you do next is the point. If this video gave you something useful, a clearer picture of where you actually are, what's still possible, and what to do in the next 48 hours, subscribe to Money Blueprint. This is the kind of conversation this channel exists to have. Honest, direct, and without the shame spiral that most personal finance content accidentally creates. And drop a comment. Honestly, where are you at 40? Or where are you aiming to be? Every single comment gets read. The people in this community are why this channel exists. Now go do the thing, the 48-hour thing. Seriously.